Letter 37. Enrich your mind. August 1, 1914. Dear John, just like our physical appetite, we also have spiritual appetite. But many people often use the lack of time as an excuse to keep their hearts hungry and only enrich them by accident or by chance, but they never forget to satisfy their consumption below their necks. Perhaps my view was a bit pessimistic. We are in an era where we continuously satisfy our needs below the neck, but ignore the needs above the neck. In fact, you often hear people say, missing a lunch is a big deal, but you never heard, when was the last time you satisfied your soul's hunger and thirst? Are we all spiritually rich? Obviously not. In our world, people who are thirsty for spiritual energy can be seen everywhere. Those who live in depression, negativity, failure, and melancholy, they all desperately need spiritual nourishment and the call of inspiration, but almost all of them reject replenishing their hearts and instead let their hearts be dim. It would be great if an empty mind could be like an empty belly, needing to be filled up to satisfy the owner. Unfortunately, there is no such thing, but to accept the punishment of spiritual emptiness. The soul is the true home for each of us, and whether we are good or bad depends on her nurturing. Because everything that enters this true home has a function. It will be created to prepare for your future, or it will be destroyed, reducing your possible future life achievements. For example, positivity. Every top-notch person who reaches the peak, or is almost reaching the peak, is positive. They are positive because they regularly enrich their hearts with good, clean, powerful, and positive spiritual thoughts. Just as food is the nutrition of the body, they do not forget their daily spiritual food. They know that if they can fill the upper part of the neck, they will never worry about filling the lower part of the neck, or even worry about the financial problems of old age. One must find one's own home, so as not to wander or become a beggar. First of all, even if you want to sell your soul, you have to sell it to yourself. We have to accept ourselves. We must be clear that man was created with God's own mind, and our status is second only to angels. God will not set any apparent restrictions on age, education, gender, fatness, skin color, height, or any other superficial limits. God also has no time to create useless people, let alone ignore everyone. Second, we must have a positive attitude. 2 years ago, when Mr. Carl Jung and I met unexpectedly, the psychologist told me a story. A man was trapped by a flood, and he had to climb to the roof to take refuge. Someone among the neighbors floated over and said, "John, the water's really terrible this time, isn't it?" John replied, "No, it's not that bad." The neighbor was a little surprised, so he retorted, "How could you say that? Your chicken coop has been washed away." John said, "Yes, I know, but I started raising ducks 6 months ago, and now they are all swimming nearby. Everything is fine." "But John, this time the water ruined your crops," the neighbor insisted. John replied, "No, the crops I planted were damaged due to lack of water. Just last week, someone told me that my land needs more water, so it's soft now." The pessimistic neighbor once again said to the smiling John, "But look, John, the water is still rising. It's about to rise to the level of your window." The optimistic John smiled happily and said, "I hope so. These windows are really dirty and need to be cleaned." This sounds like a joke, but obviously this is a realm. Deciding to adopt a positive attitude to deal with this complex ups and downs of this world. Once this state is reached, even in negative situations, we can make the mind automatically respond positively. In order to achieve this state, we can only enrich and cleanse our hearts. Everyone can change or be changed. Mr. Jung said that as long as a person changes his vocabulary, he can build his income, his enjoyment, and improve his life, and even change his life. For example, the word hate should be removed from your vocabulary. Do not think about it, but replace it with the word love for writing, feeling, and dreaming. Obviously, the words to be removed and replaced are almost endless, but the mind will become purer and more positive from the removal. Our minds act on the things that supply her. I believe that what I put in my heart is very important to my future. So, the question is obviously, how do we feed our souls? When do we find spiritual food? Have you ever heard that the lumberjack's output will decline just because he did not spare time to sharpen him and his axe? We spend money and a lot of time to modify the appearance of the mind, shave and trim our hair. Can we spend the same time and money to make up the inner part of the mind? Of course, there is, and it can be done. In fact, spiritual food is available everywhere, such as books. There are no books written through great spiritual impacts that are not food that washes and enriches our hearts. They have already pointed out the direction for future generations once and for all, and we can choose whatever we want. A great book is a great tree of wisdom, a great tree of mind in which we will be reshaped. Let us learn to be smart and humble, humble and smart. Of course, we should not read books written for businessmen by businessmen. Their books are like a plague, spreading shameless evil thoughts, corrupt news, and arrogant stupidity. Their books are only worthy of those shallow and vulgar people. What we need is a book that can bring us the confidence and strength to act, can push our life to a new height, and guide us to do good. For example, Pushing to the Front by Orison Swett Marden. It is great work that stirs our souls and stimulates our passion for life. I believe that the American people will benefit from its appearance and therefore use their own power in the most positive ways to reach the dream of life. I even believe that whoever misses the opportunity to read it is likely to miss the great life. I hope my children and grandchildren can read this book. It can open the door to happiness for all people. The driving force that led people to climb to the peak is a driving force that is maintained and emphasized regularly and is growing stronger. Those who have a successful life can undoubtedly realize that there is a lot of space in the peak, but there is not enough space for people to sit and stay. They understand that the mind, like the body, must be given regular nutrition. Physical, mental, and spiritual nutrition must be taken care of separately. John, no one can block our way home unless we do not want to come back. Let the light of the soul shine on our way forward. Love, your father.